Hi everyone, I'm doing Julie's Jewels on Sunday again. I can't seem to get it together on Friday, so Sunday might be my new day. So I have one jewel for you today, and I'm going to be talking about myself personally also, which I'm sure my family and close friends will object to, but I don't give a fuck. So the jewel I have for you today is that in most cases, suffering is optional, or in many cases. I don't know about most cases. In many cases, suffering is optional. And this comes from the first arrow, second arrow concept, which is a Buddhist concept. And I want to just put out there that I know very little about Buddhism. And so my telling of this parable of the first arrow, second arrow is very much going to be filtered through my coaching lens and my reading and my research, but I do not have a lot of firsthand information about Buddhism. I don't practice it. I'm Jewish. So please just sort of like with that caveat, I'm going to share what my understanding is. In life, we all experience pain, and often it is something we can't avoid. It's the first arrow. Rejection, some sort of a loss, a death, a loss of a promotion, a missed opportunity, hurt of any kind. That's the first arrow. That pain is unavoidable. It's very much a part of life. What happens next, though, can be up to us. We have agency over it. And what happens is that often we inflict a second arrow on ourselves. And that second arrow is judgment, shame, and other disempowering stories that have us locked into an experience of pain. So an example, say you are rejected or broken up with, and that's painful. And then you tell yourself, I'm not worthy of love. I don't deserve happiness. I suck. So forth. That piece of it creates a deeper level experience of pain and suffering that is not necessary. And when I say not necessary, it's superhuman. I don't mean to be glib about this, but we tend to lock in or can lock in experiences of pain with that second arrow, which is often a disempowering story, narrative, or piece of self-judgment. So again, while I don't know a lot about Buddhism firsthand, this concept really resonates with me that once that first experience of pain hits us, we have lots of choices from there, and that the suffering, the prolonging of the suffering is often optional. We often have other choices at our disposal. So this is a bit of a strange offshoot of this concept, but I read today that our charlatan health secretary, without any science background, with no MD, with really no credentials to speak of, is coming for the antidepressants. The SSRIs, which I don't know if you have experience with SSRIs, but I do. I first went on an SSRI in college after my freshman year when I had a very painful breakup and became extremely depressed, had severe anxiety, lost a ton of weight. My anxiety was so crippling that I had panic attacks that convinced me that I was having heart attacks. So I went to the hospital multiple times. I got worked up multiple times. And then on top of that, I had something called agoraphobia, which I would not getting emotional. I would not wish this on my worst enemy. Agoraphobia, I'm going to just describe my experience with it. I don't even know what it is technically, but it's basically a fear of being in open space. And so when I would leave my dorm room and be in an open space, even without a lot of people, it felt like the world was tilted. I felt dizzy. I felt off kilter. My heart would beat fast. I would sweat. I basically feel like I was about to pass out. Needless to say, while living at home, not while living in college, not at home, and on my own and kind of trying to make it through college, and I was a really good student, this was extremely unmooring. And I shit you not, without the SSRIs that I had to do a lot of trial and error with, I don't know how I would have made it. I really don't. I ended up graduating Phi Beta Kappa and summa cum laude. I had amazing friends. I had an amazing psychologist. I had a psychopharmacologist. I had my parents. I had so much support, but I swear to God, without these drugs, I don't know what I would have done. And by the way, I was on these drugs for a long time after as well. I remember very clearly, because I didn't want to go on them, I remember very clearly my therapist saying to me, Julie, your suffering is optional. You don't have to feel this way. There's medicine for you with limited side effects. We may have to try it out for a little while. You may have to experiment. And I remember feeling like, oh, I don't actually have to feel this way. And it was like, I remember the physical experience of like having a deep breath and thinking, oh, I could feel better. So I am angry. I am really angry that there would be any sort of talk about taking this away from so many people who need this drug. For what? Why? They're not addictive. They're not as addictive as heroin, which, by the way, motherfucker, you were on for a long time. Yeah, this one's saucy. Suffering is optional, and I opted not to. And by the way, I encourage and have encouraged family members and friends also not to. So I'm triggered. I'm upset because I know how much of a difference these medications have made for me, and I know they've made a lot of difference for other people. And there's so many changes and norms being disrupted right now, but this one hit me and made me think about this notion that there are vehicles available, there are tools available, there are technological and medical advances available to have us not have to suffer unnecessarily. SSRIs being one of them, our thoughts and feelings and judgments being another in cases where we experience pain. My jewel is that suffering is oftentimes optional. And I really, really hope that this movement to deprive many millions of people of this medicine does not take hold. I don't have a whole lot of faith right now, given everything that's going on. I'll end with a note of levity. I said suffering is optional. That is, in a lot of cases, true. However, I went to solid core today, in which case suffering is mandatory. Kidding. Have a great day and have a great upcoming week.